When you hear Tari say young man, I'm most likely who he's talking to, not our producer, aka Mr. Wilson. And then you just flow right into it. Oh man, I get what you're saying. I'm like, so how do I stay? Okay, so at best, at worst, I'm gonna say that people talking about Charlie putting back from 23 getting put back on the bill. I mean, okay, I can stick with that. No, man, I'm not sure, man. I'm not. Because I'm not talking about that.
You might want to consult first, but
You got you. No. This is the key. We got another show.
yeah.
We got another show.
Yeah.
And had she the second call?
You ready? Y'all ready?
You ready? Pop it. Here with the young man. Everybody, you were coming to that interview.
Welcome back to Make It Make Sense Jackson. I am your host, KP, aka Keanu Perry, aka Young Man. If you hear Tyra say Young Man, he's most likely referring to me, not our producer, who also is known as Mr. Wilson. Welcome back to the second day of Make It Make Sense Jackson, which is Tuesday. And we hope that you've done one productive thing when you left out and came back with us. But to the ones that didn't make it back to us, we'd like to hold a moment of silence for y'all, like always. And we got a banger today. There's a lot of stuff to talk about from the new chief and her, from the water, from what else?
And look, I was over there sneaking and making them think I wasn't here. Somebody was like, oh God, thank God. He's not here today. I'm here. That's right, young man. We just want to reverse this and let the young man lead the way, as is the long-term goal anyways here, guys. But we got the water to talk about. We got Chief Brackney finally being let out to the world. It looked like she had to kick the door down herself because she called these meetings. So that was a little refreshing. What else do we have today? We've got, man, it's a lot. It's a lot of different things. We're doing something different today. And this is why the young man is asking. Part of it obviously is him leading a little more, which I love. But the other part is having that first 10 to 15 minutes be your time, be what Mississippi's talking about. We've had folks reach out about everything from the water authority to who's leading the water, to folks reaching out about their water bill, fears of the water, Jackson Water putting charges from years ago back on there after they told them they were working with the state of Mississippi to get them removed. We've got folks that have reached out online about, well, how do they say it? They don't say Epstein, they say Epi-Steppy, I'm sorry. So when I still look at it, it still makes me chuckle a little bit, but there's nothing funny about it. But about the Epstein files, asking how it touches Mississippi. And see, Epstein files in Pineywood is something that has been rotating ever since the first broke. You remember and I don't remember when we were talking about that first show where the brother was bothered. He called it back to back. We couldn't talk about it. I don't know if that's when the water authority had first come. And brother, we apologize because clearly
it messed me up because that was the best time to probably start talking.
Yeah. It was when it was fresh, and you had the Epstein files that come out, and what we're talking about, folks, is that it hit home here in Mississippi in a lot more ways than one. The Pineywood, which is a school out there in Richland, appeared on the Epstein files, obviously, and the reason why this actually hits is because you had people losing their jobs just for showing up on those files. You had people that no longer in professions, in careers, just because they were on those files, so it's big. But you had Monica, what's the last name? Crossley, the wife of the president up there, William Crossley, who was on those files. You also obviously had, who at that time, I think she was noted as the dean of faculty. Now understand, the whole thing surrounding Epstein was he supposedly reached out to 3 black schools and chose Pineywood as the one he wanted to give donations to, right? And so you'd expect to see the dean of students on it. But anyhow, you saw them, you saw the, there were emails that were going out, including your financial advisor there, who also happened to be, from what I understand, this is the newspaper clippings, he also happened to be the CFO for the Jackson Zoo Foundation. That's why I'm saying a lot of these folks are right here close to home. And then there was another fellow on there that that worked there, doesn't work there anymore, or used to work there and worked at Jackson State University, and in over about $50 billion per year. Was it Wiley? And I'll pull it up. But it was amazing how many folks that hit that Epstein file just from the Pineywood connection actually are also, the one guy was a president at Valley State and then was a president at, I think, Jackson State. So it was amazing to me seeing how, and that's why I said I'm sorry to the brother, because I did see a few people that have asked about it. I said, you didn't bring it back up. And I apologize to them because I just didn't realize how close to home that hit. And that's probably why I didn't understand why they were so interested in it.
What were you saying? Pineywood's hitting close to home?
Well, I'm just thinking Pineywood, Richland, but when you look at it, the folks that are being on some of these emails, the CFO, that you had the head of what do you call the maintenance people what do you call the director of maintenance, the grounds, facilities? You had the director of facilities supposedly on one of the emails. You know, and you think, well, what is it? The director of facilities is groundwork, right? But But when you look at the ex-president of Valley State and the old president of Jackson State, and then you look at the fellow that was the CFO when this was happening, and he's also simultaneously is the chief financial officer for the Jackson Zoo Foundation. So these folks are right around us. And I mean, JSU, I mean, you know who I'm talking, I'm going to pull it back up, but I mean, I'd have a, I would just notice if you want Epstein files and then you over $60 million of our money. So it was surprising to just have heard about that, right? That threw me off. So yeah, I just say shout out to that brother, because a lot of what he and other people are pointing out, I guess I can see how it comes closer to home. A lot of those.
Yeah, that's the same school that told the kids to go to the Dixie Parade.
That's the same school. That's what happens too. See, generally what happens is this: you smell a smoke, there's a fire. You know how your mother when you were young told them people just didn't start who they were being who they were being yesterday. You know, whether you're on a job and someone says if someone's stealing from you one place, they're stealing from you another place. That's the type of heads up. But at that time, of course, I don't even think we were like you and I. We've tried to stay away from the Epstein files as much as possible to give breathing room for Jackson and Mississippi's issues. But I think that's the point I'm saying. What the fellow was saying was this is a Mississippi issue, because these folks involved were not just part of Pinewood staff, but they actually were. Like I said, you had a fellow that was the. I'm trying to look at some of the names that they were pulling up, but there was a fellow that was over director of facilities. I think it was Wayne Goodwin. That does procurements and solicitations. Chris Heron was a senior financial. He held this financial role at that time. But these fellows right there, Chris Heron is also the chief financial officer, or was listed that way for the Jackson Zoo Foundation. So you thinking Piney Woods and Richland's out there, but you also over something that was very controversial, which is the zoo, and the Zoo Foundation pulls in a lot of money to try to steer it in the direction they and their constituents wanted to go.
So first he was at the zoo, then he was the money.
I can't tell when I look at it. Yeah, it says that he did it simultaneously when I looked at it.
Oh, he did it simultaneously.
Now that blows me. I don't know CFO world. I don't know how you can do two. Because I mean, the Zoo Foundation does a lot. Pinewood does a lot. So that's a hell of two jobs to have at one time. But yes, it does say on paper that he held both jobs together. Yes, I just think that I understand a lot more about the closeness of it than before. So we have to look at, people have to look a lot deeper to see where that lands. But I think that it does bring some questions to light with the size of Pinewood School and with the fact that it's an incorporated institution. Now the good thing is we got somebody we know over there, the Fidelis, on the old on Showquay's old administration. So the good thing is we got somebody local that we could hopefully, if something happened, we hear from him, right? Fidelis, am I saying the last name? That's my brother. He'd be mad at me. Mbeka. And I love that last name. But yeah, so you're gonna remember Fidelis was the chief financial officer for the city of Jackson under Showquay. Yeah. Under the last administration. So you would imagine that I'm not saying he's an activist, but you'd imagine that he's a local person. If something like that is happening out there, I remember talking to him about the influx of international students that he helped bring into the school, because a lot of people don't know he worked at Pinewood, I believe, before he came to the city of Jackson. So he was he worked in the financial area with Pinewood, then came over to the city of Jackson under Showquay's administration, and now is back at Pinewood. So, it's good to have a local name there, especially for those of you parents and people that are saying, well, folks are coming from, because I've heard a lot of that with Pinewood. Folks are coming from outside the area. My kid can't get an equal shot. You've got somebody that's local that you can reach out to. So we would hope that if anything was burning on that level, we'd hear about it on the home front. But that was one of them. What was another? What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna piggyback on what you were saying. What you were gonna say was something else we was gonna talk about.
No. What were you gonna piggyback on?
But no, Fidelis. I was gonna say Malumbeka.
Malumbeka. I know. See, I knew I did that wrong. Yeah, I have an ethnic name, and I have a lot of people in my family with those names. So my brother, that, blame that on my head and not my heart. But yes, Malumbeka is a beautiful name. But Fidelis Malumbeka is over at Pinewood as the chief financial officer, and was over there prior to coming to the city. So, these are the things, just like we call out folks that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing in positions and they leave the doors open. My best analogy is we inside this house called Jackson a lot of times, called Mississippi, and it gets cold. We start hurting, starving, our bones are touching. And we've got a black person, someone that looks like us, all skin folk and kinfolk, that's holding that door open in that brain. And we don't understand, well, we got voting rights. We got a black school like Pinewood. We've got JSU. We've got Tougaloo. Why are no votes coming out? Why is nothing happening? The same way we call out those folks when we've got somebody that stood for in the city, meaning he was part of the city's administration, like Fidelis, then you notice that they're there too. And that's how you keep everybody involved. And if we're all involved, then we always know what's happening.
Welcome to Make Sense Call. You on there?
Hey, man, I want to appreciate what you guys are doing today, man. mentioned them old Epstein, them Epstein files. Well, man, no, like all jokes aside, y'all mentioned the Epstein files. Well, Penwoods, if I'm not mistaken, the headmaster's wife, she was on the Epstein files, and between her and the chief financial person and the man in charge of facilities, they had everything they need to be a part of the Epstein files. If they was, from what I read and what I saw, and then let's think about Pinewoods. Pinewoods is, from what I've tracked, it's kind of like, Mississippi's, black agriculture school to a degree.
That's what, yeah. Big farm area on there, cows, chickens. I can attest to that. I've had children go there. It's beautiful.
All of it stuff like that, man. But then when you look at their makeup out there, you got an African head house that makes it look good, but when you look up under the hood, there's a whole bunch of white people running that show out there. Then when you look at the kids, there ain't nothing but a whole bunch of Africans out there. It's like one or two, black folks out there. And don't get me wrong, I ain't saying Africans ain't black folks, but y'all know Africans.
No, what you're talking about, I want you to finish what you're talking about, and this is reality, because I had a child that went there. And when I went out there, I thought that Jackson students made up a very large percentage. I'm just saying that's what I thought through conversation. I'm not holding anyone accountable. I thought that there would be a larger, and when I got out there was one young man from Jackson. So I want you to finish, but I'm going to stand up for that. I'm not going to let that. It's a fact.
And I'll just say this, it appears to me that it's like some African exchange going on, and the African kids come over here and pay their tuition money and go from there. But when you look at the makeup and you ask the question of, well, where are the Mississippi children at?
That's the question. That's what I'm always asking.
You would think there'd be some Mississippi kids there, and don't get me wrong, they're probably the ones that chooses, but for the most part, Pinewoods is made up of foreign exchange kids. Well, when you think about that, the fact that Pinewoods is predominantly made up of foreign exchange kids, you got an African in charge of the place, his wife died to the Mississippi files, and then when you look under the hood of Pinewoods, you don't see nothing white folks. All that kind of scary.
I would not deny that. I appreciate that, and that's a lot to unpack. But I think that I don't think you're wrong in any way, shape, or form. And I'll say this, and you can stay online, you can drop. I'll say this, when you go out to a place, you notice, and we've talked about this. When you go out to a place, and I've had a child. I've had a child at Pineywood. When you go to the school, what happens is you don't look for something, but you all remember. You start to notice things. And and I'm not the person, listen, you probably ain't, guess what, to my baby girl, you're probably not getting accepted anywhere, because they done heard this. Now that they're doing wrong, they're not going to let you in. But you notice things. And I've said before, when you go into the school, you notice the administration, the farm, who's in control of the farm, and then who's in control of the student life, the cafeteria, cleaning, the grounds, maybe a principal or him. But you see that setup, and then you question first. Now, I'm somebody whose grandmother donated very heavily to Pineywood, so you have to understand something too when I speak about this. That's why that number that I give out so much, 601-948-5950, stays so dang quiet, even though we know folks are listening. Because Mary Grace Rogers, rest in peace, was a professor at Stetson University. She loved Pineywood's, the thought of Pineywood's, the intent of Pineywood's, which was to take black children in the most oppressed place, even in slavery, which was Mississippi, and to draw them from all over the country to a place where we could build ourselves back up as a people. And that came from her mouth as somebody that drove hundreds of thousands, if not more, into that school, I believe, by the way she ran for it, right? So to look today and to see the school be 90% African is not that we love our brothers and sisters. That's the beauty of it, is the internationalism. But how is there one child from Jackson? Greenville, all these areas, we got 17 schools shut down in Jackson alone. It's probably about 40 when you look at the schools shut down. They've incorporated school systems in the community cities and forced them together. You have a plethora of children. You're telling me that there are not 10 good kids in 300,000 African-American children? So any last words? I don't want to take your time. Yeah, go ahead and take us out, brother. I'm sorry. I took over his.
Yeah, man, it's looking like, there's only African island over there. And and got the fella in charge, and his wife tied to the Epstein's. Well, I mean, all that's kind of questionable at this point, all the way down to their student enrollment and the money they get off America. I mean, you know,
and what are they going to say? If you're an international student, what are you going to say? Think about that. What are you going to say? I'm in Russia, and what am I going to call a film? I mean, you know, HUD, or what am I going to do there to say that, hey, something's wrong?
Well, I dare you to say something wrong. I think you're right there.
Yeah, think about that. Yeah. Keep us on air now. Keep us on air. But no. I appreciate you. You have a good one as well. Yeah, I mean, it's. And listen, I'll say it on this, and I know we've got more topics to talk about, and we've got a guest coming in as well. But I'll say this: that I'm the type of person that I'm gonna speak the truth of what I see. I don't care who it affects. If it affects me, my children, the truth when it starts affecting you. And when I start to cry or feel for people, you got a problem if you're gonna continue to give them issues. And when I look at Pinewood, my biggest issue is when I look at Pinewood, you had the white folks that are over at the farm using the N-word, literally telling students, this is Tariq Abdul-Tawwab telling that to you. And this is why I love that. So if anything happens, you can be like, where'd you get this from? Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, he's got a show right there, and he keeps the show up so you can go back and re-listen to what he said. Right? So you had a white handsman over at the farm, not only using the N-word, meaning in conversation, not in aggressiveness, but then making statements to the students saying, well, you know that Africans sold people into slavery too, you know that you all sold each other as well. That when you have that type of mindset in a power position, now you're going to definitely question. We're people that a lot of times we'll excuse our people before anyone. When the Fed charged, we're like, man, I probably ain't doing that. They probably messing with him. You understand what I mean? But when you show different tendencies, then I think it puts it. So yeah, I mean, to the caller's point, I think they're 100% correct to look at any setup. And like I said, you had a groundsman there that said that they know for a fact Governor Tate was coming to visit the school. I said, are you serious? These are the type of, yes, that was coming on the school. And when you tell me that, listen, I'm going to say, what you want to do? Tell me I'm lying? We can drive up there. He was right there. That's what I will. I mean, let's go to court. That's why those cease and desist. And if you're new to us, I want you to go back through those shows, through 12 months almost of shows, and ask yourself, cease and desist get thrown around Mississippi like pancakes. Why have they not been served with one? And then you can assume there's truth in a lot of these things that are being said plainly, but no cease and desist is coming.
Yeah. Who's saying that record forgot to have it?
You make it make sense? Call to say that one more time?
Yeah, the record got to have it. Is it Aaron Holloway or Aaron Holiday?
All right, let me let you go, my brother. But yeah, so when you look at that, when you look at that Piney Woods and you look at it flowing down, so you got to understand something. When small people get hurt, and they're really huge to me, they're my heroes. When I think about the cafeteria workers, when I think about the teachers out there, the social workers, and big up to all of you all. You all know me. When I think about the history teachers, when I think about the groundsmen, when I think about the basketball coaches, shout out, got sons over here playing star ball at Callaway, shout out to the girls coach. When I think about those people, you think I'm going to sit by to the president, I'm talking directly to the president of Pinewood, who's in this, and his wife. You think I'm going to sit by while you give these people a ceiling right here and tell them the most you can do is be a dorm mother or a dorm father, and you're going to watch these white people ride by you every day to the administrative office and take their rightful position of where they should be. You can go over there and learn how to ride a horse or pick something, but you're going to let those good white men that understand the business and the agriculture side, because you're a Negro, you're going to let them, and then when you then pull in majority of African students, which we need there, it's international approach keeps our children free. Don't you ever believe them trying to keep you in one place. But then you turn around and you push aside every black student, and you know what you're really saying? I ain't got the time to deal with these problem children. I'd rather get some young children from over in Africa whose parents have the money to pay me and they ain't gonna cause no problems because they don't want to go back home. So Piney Woods was built with my dead grandmother busting her butt, traveling up and down the coast, trying to bring your sorry selves, today's sorry selves, some money so that black children, descendants of chattel slavery, could have a chance. And this is the way you decide to save your school. By abandoning the one person it was meant for. Make it make sense, Piney Woods. Make it make sense. Go ahead and shut down at that point. You're there to help the descendants of American slavery. At the point that your enrollment has 1% descendants of American slavery and 90%, then at that point, what are you open for? Go ahead and change your name to Piney International School and move into the lane you should be in.
Man, you pay attention. That's what happened to JPS.
That's right.
All the other
That's right.
Yeah.
Just like we tell Gabriel Prado, stop telling us your Don Gabriel supermarkets, gas stations are supermarkets, coded correctly. And you notice if you listen to us, we don't talk about your drunk aunt. We don't talk about your bad habits. We don't talk about your sexual habits, your money habits. We don't do any of that. We just drop receipts and we tell you what's happening. The reason senators have called into the station saying stop them from talking, but won't follow the cease and desist. The reason radio station owners, the reason nobody is happy with what we're saying, but nobody will stop us, is because we're not telling untruth. And the more you ask, the more we talk about it. We let you know that you had a fire captain and only had 2 to 3 people under him, and he was moved up 4 positions over your whole fire department. So Chief Rashawn had 2 people under him, and now your whole safety is depending on him. You see what I'm saying? It's only a matter of time, Jackson and Mississippi and these United States, before they do more to silence us than send Bo Brown on the phone. It's only a matter of time before they do more to silence us than try to sabotage us, turn off people's water, do different things. There's a time when it will get worse than that. And that's the beauty of this. As long as you don't let the idea die, the hell what they do with me. They're trying to kill an idea, that's why they're mad at us. The idea that we know the truth. We know that our mayor used to sit on the HUD committee and knows a little more. We know our mayor used to take campaign donations from what we call slumlords. We know that Jeff Good and the Downtown Jackson Partners put a lot of money behind that and seem to be getting a lot of reward from it. We know Gabriel Prado supported the mayor, took Topgolf away from Jackson first, supported Horn, and then got a $1.25 million tax incentive, and now is building high-rise apartments for $2,000 maybe plus per month that we can't afford. We know that an Indian gentleman named Babanasi bought up all of downtown, and John Horn posted it as if it was a great thing. These are the things we know. They're just used to you not saying it out loud. The emperor has clothes on. Oh, just look the other way. Ain't nothing going to change no how. Now, we've said it enough and you started to say it with us, but you got to sustain everything. You got Hennepin sitting in front of the city hall saying the reason that we're having a problem is because black people in Jackson, Mississippi don't want to pay their bill. He didn't say the black part. He didn't have to. Everyone knows Jackson is majority black. You got old, elderly people calling our phone line, crying on the phone for you to hear, not for performative radio, so you can understand the real effect of what's happening with our water.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense. We went out to the lady's house yesterday to give us some water. Miss Lena.
Yes.
Shout out to Miss Lena. We actually talked to her, and we got.
And that was our caller yesterday. You all that was on the phone. The elderly lady that unfortunately broke down because she was wheelchair bound, bed bound, and she also didn't have any water. But what did they tell you when you went down there? And we're gonna run into our.
What she basically said was she said on the phone that she had been paying like $70, $80 previously on her bill, and somehow she said she had a leak on her property. I think it was a year ago. They came out and fixed it. So
That's right.
At some point, she was actually trying to figure out what's going on, and it seemed like she had somebody to help her. Her caregiver. Shout out to you too.
Shout out to the sister that was there helping her, going above and beyond.
And she said she don't know what happened. Her bill just shot up to $3,800, and they said she had to pay half of that up front just to get her water cut back on.
So these are the effects. No, thank you. I mean, these are the effects of what's happening, and now, mind you, folks don't know where these bills are coming from. And we're about to bring our guests in, but I want you to understand, folks don't know where they're bills. So first, you were told by Jackson Water that Jackson is the problem. Now we got $1 billion nearly, 850. We got nearly $1 billion, and that's what we're going to have as someone that's not just an expert, but knows the behind how it happened. And the biggest thing we want to explain to folks today is if you don't do something now, then you have allowed yourself to be fooled and it's over. But you've got folks with bills they don't understand, high bills. And do you realize that every single time something is tried to be done for the people of Jackson, it's gone left? You remember at the beginning, Mr. Yours truly was there, overseeing, on the news, smiling at you on TV. We're going to try to use LIWAP money, right, to pay against the bills because the people of Jackson haven't even had clean water, much less a sustainable. So let's use what the low-income LIWAP, low-income water. Yes, low-income housing, but I'll pull it back up, but it's a tax. Housing and energy fund. So it's a tax credit. We try to use it. You remember, Ted Hennepin, Jackson Water tried to use it. The state of Mississippi stepped in and said, no, you cannot forgive bills under our legislation. You cannot forgive bills, right? Have them hold. Just have them come in and hold. You cannot forgive bills, right? So now I'm hearing people tell me, oh my goodness, my bill's shooting up $2,000, $3,000. I'm saying to myself when some of these residents call in, that was in 2023. I hope you're not putting charges back on these people's bills from when the government said you can't do that in 23. Now, I don't call us in. Now, that's not saying I know that. I'm saying I want you to call us and tell us what you're being told when you get these extra charges on your bill. But thankfully, ladies and gentlemen, like I like to say, we've got some relief as well. So with us, I'm going to let him introduce himself, but we have a gentleman that not only has been active in working on ways for this city to resist in this moment, he's been active for the last 20 years trying to protect this city from what he knew would come and what unfortunately has arisen. Introduce yourself, my brother.
Okay, and again, thanks, brothers, for having me on.
Thank you for
I really
coming.
appreciate the work that you all have done in continuing the legacy of the work that began here in my tenure in Jackson, Mississippi, from 1988 to the present. It's really, really appreciative that you all continue this work. My name is Akil Bakari, obviously known around Jackson. Some of the work we've done with the Malcolm X grassroots movement, work we've done with the late Shortway Lumumba, activist, people's attorney. The mayor is the least of his job.
Yes, yes.
And the least of his accomplishments, not to denigrate that office, but there's a higher calling.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a higher
Absolutely.
calling. As you have summarized and you've been doing since you all have been on, is alerting our folks to what they know inherently and what they know it impacts them directly with water, what they're paying for water. As I look at this whole Jackson water situation is a bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is Ted Hennepin, I've watched him very closely from the inception of him being put over the entity of Jackson Water, and how I'm reluctant to say that he changed. His tenor was different when we first met him.
Okay.
We being the working group that assisted
That's right.
behind the scenes in generating upwards of over $800 million for the citizens of Jackson. And what do you mean by that, Akil? There was an effort spearheaded by the former mayor, Shortway Anton, to secure $600 million in funds, federal funds, to assist residents in Jackson.
Which is the bulk of that amount we usually hear about.
Exactly. That's the bulk of that amount that was approved under the Biden administration. That effort, there were many others who were involved, obviously, but the effort was spearheaded by the former mayor and his office.
That's right.
There was a working group that I was a part of that was behind the scenes.
Water lines.
That our job was to secure as many funds as possible in addition to the $600 million. Those funds encompasses low interest loans, grants. There was different awards of money that was controlled by the Department of Energy under the Environmental Quality. And those processes are very in-depth, and those processes are very tedious.
Because those are a lot of, when you talk about just people to think about a $50,000 grant, you're talking about a lot of small parts to this, right?
It is.
Yeah.
The city of Jackson did not have the resources to be able to submit and deal with the tedious processing. Just putting an application together alone requires a specific expertise.
Yes.
So like the meters also, right?
Yeah, and what I mean by that, intellectual expertise. Yeah. Not that people in the city of Jackson did not have the intellectual capacity. But it's just like I'm a network engineer by trade, but I can't do demo work.
Yeah, you got to be in the right place. You got roles. Everybody's got absolutely. The city always struggles.
My expertise is in technology.
Not in it.
A dentist is a dentist.
Yeah.
So in essence, you had to have a unique expertise in order to know what funding that you can secure and how to do it, when to do it, and what entities you need to submit to. That's what this working group.
So it's fair to say, let me say this, so it's fair to say, I want you to stop, I want you to keep going.
Yeah.
So it's fair to say, and this just jumped out at me when I'm listening, it's fair to say that at that moment, Ted Hennepin was in a position where you all were seeing the money come in.
At that moment, Ted Hennepin was not in place.
Yes. That's what I don't know if people understand. He was still here.
Hennepin was a candidate at the time that the group, including the mayor's office, the federal government, and I believe it was water license. The full name escapes me right now. In vetting him for this particular position, as I said, I'm hesitant to use the word change, but his tone and tenor was much different at that point in time. It was much more conciliatory. He appeared to be much more progressive in his thinking and how he would approach this.
And you have to do your background behind that when someone says that. You know what we do on the show. You go and Google the videos and see for yourself what you think. Has his position changed?
I would say that based on his previous work, now one thing that people should know, Ted Hennepin is not a water expert.
A lot of people
He's a sewer expert. Sewer expert, not a water expert. However, finding people with a particular expertise for that particular position and having that, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
And
willing to take the job.
That's the key part.
Yeah, let's say that. Willing to take the job.
So getting back, the working group that I was a part of worked behind the scenes. And using that expertise, they were able to secure an additional $200 and some odd million in grants, low interest loans, and federal awards.
And that total, I believe, came to $850 million
Roughly
$850 million, which is what Ted Hennepin had to work with at the beginning of this. So.
Ted Hennepin had to work with. The city of Jackson did not have the resources going back that predates whether it's the former mayor Antar Lumumba, whether it was Harvey Johnson, whether the former late mayor Chokwe Lumumba, whether it was former mayor Tony Yarborough or whoever. The city of Jackson did not have the resources.
Thank you.
There was resources allocated during those tenures going all the way back to Dill days, which is the 70s and early 80s, allocated towards that, but it was never enough because, see, this is one thing that people don't understand. They understand that the Mississippi legislature could give a damn about Jackson. Yeah. They understand that.
Yeah.
But they were even that way even when it was under quote-unquote white leadership. Because you have to understand, Mississippi is made up of a bunch of small MAGA Confederate towns. That's what makes up the bulk of the Mississippi legislature. And it has a resentment for quote-unquote urban, which is considered Jackson. Yes. We know it's this big old country town. Yeah. But within the context of Mississippi. And so there's always that. Then, when quote-unquote black leadership came into play in the city of Jackson, then it doubled down.
Yeah, now the gloves off now.
And the gloves off and everything. We're going to destroy it. We're going to defund Jackson. Mm-hmm. We're going to destroy Jackson's economic viability, and then we're going to come in and take it over on pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar.
And that's what's happening right now.
That's yes. Yeah, so thank you, brother. That leads right into the spirit of things. That just sometimes moves me, y'all. Some of you know, when you talk to people that have been through it, and this brother's not only done radio, but the organization about 40 years here of being in this area and fighting for the things that we're fighting for now. And let's just be very real. This is why it's the beauty of having blasts from the past and the present on here. Mm-hmm. Because when some of you all call in and we hold you accountable, see, nobody else likes to do this. A lot of people are very humble, right? People just move through. But when Big Chokwe was in office, right? When Little Chokwe was in office, right? When Yarba was in office, right? When all these people in office, sometimes you're going to have to freeze. This is Tarek Abdul-Twab saying this to you. Think about the black people that were in some type of power then. Stop letting them dress in jogging suits and come to the fish fry now because they done lost it all, because they done went up and they done. Right. You have black people that are stealing from you along with the power that be, right? You'll hear them squealing, white man did something to me. They were stealing from you and then they got tricked. So they're not really screaming, we're getting oppressed. They're screaming, you told me I could take something from Tarek and now you're taking it from me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you a perfect example. When John Horn accompanied Ted Hennepin to D.C. to beg for another $50 million, right? And then turned around and said, I thought we were friends. He's not doing what I wanted when he went up in an increase.
Well, see, this is the thing. Talking about that 50 million, we got to make sure our people understand. Remember, Hennepin for the last year and a half has been crying about they're running out of operating money. They're running out of operating money.
Yeah, they've been already close.
As the original part out of the original $600 million, there was $150 million allocated for day-to-day operating costs.
That's right.
$450 million, the other $450 million was designated for capital projects on the water system, large projects on the water system. Remember there was talk about replacing all of the 2-inch pipes?
Mm-hmm.
We heard any more of that talk?
No, as a matter of fact, the conversation was that that's one of the reasons all the streets keep breaking up.
Yes, because this is the thing.
And it just paid Woodrow Wilson. Well, I'm sorry, one of the streets they said kept breaking up because of the pipes.
They also said they weren't going to charge the people that have old pipes.
Yeah, these small 2-inch pipes, that's one of the major projects that was supposed to.
Yes, I do remember.
We have to go back and read. There's a 36 to 38 page report, which was the initial legal document that established Jackson Water and the guidelines that Ted Hennepin was supposed to abide by. Remember, there were 13 original priority projects in that document that Hennepin was supposed to have accomplished. Last I checked, and it's been a minute, I don't think that he actually has accomplished 4 or 5 of those, based on what was mandated by the federal government in that time.
At that time, that's right. And they were supposed to be posted on the website at the time. You have to post it on there.
They're out there. You can go out there
But
and read it
whether
right
or
now.
not
But
yet.
whether they've actually done it.
We got to verify
Now, he
what's
puts
been.
together these quarterly reports. Part of the task of the working group that I was a part of, particularly within the first year and a half, we would analyze those quarterly reports and produce a report for the mayor's office. And we did that, and significantly and consistently, Hennepin and his office always had an excuse as to why they weren't meeting the tasks that they were required to meet. And
but the money's still there.
But the money's still there. Matter of fact, within the first 6 to 8 months of his tenure as Jackson Water, the federal government changed the way he could draw money down, because he was pulling money down just like you would pour dirt on the ground. He was doing it so fast without
I remember that choke the previous mayor
without enough verification of why he was doing it.
Because it was written so that he did not have to.
Yeah, and it was written, all right, the way it was originally written, you got a cancer patient. You got to stabilize that patient right now.
Yeah.
You got to stabilize.
That's all.
Before you can do anything else, you got to stabilize. That was Jackson. Yeah. It had to get stabilized.
And you remember when the troops, the National Guard came down? You all remember it was to the point where everybody was saying Jackson in crisis.
You got to get it stabilized. So there was leeway given to Hennepin, and rightfully so. So in essence, look, we got to get it stabilizing. We got to get the water situation squared away. People ain't got water.
That's right.
And so we got to get it stabilized.
Yeah. That's the only reason when we talk about the LIWOP funds that we were even discussing LIWOP being an option. So
that was the initial thrust. Let's get it stabilized. Once we get it stabilized, then we can come back, assess, and deal with it.
That's how it was written in a way that gave so much power.
So that's why he was able to hand out these no-bid contracts. That was not supposed to last forever. Only during that initial period of stabilizing the system.
It was supposed to stabilize the system.
So essentially what he did, he ran through that $150 million. He ran through it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Because he was crying for money. He ran through the money, then begging for money. I can't operate and this, that, and the other. It's just like you overextending on your mortgage or your household budget. You spend all the money to read. Now you can't pay your house note.
Now I'm doing a payday loan.
Now you can't pay the house note.
Yeah.
Now you've overextended on the payday loan. Yeah. Now you can't do nothing.
Now I'm going to my kids' penny bank. Now I'm going into their trust fund.
Now the folks going to put you out your house.
Yep. Now I'm going into their trust fund.
So I know you got to take these calls, and I want you to do that for.
Well, tell me this. You're right.
Let me take this with this one point on that $50 million.
I wasn't thinking.
He was crying about that needing additional money, so he was begging for that $450 million, some of that to be repurposed for his operating costs.
I remember that.
And so initially, he asked for it, all the confusion and chaos and nonsense is going on in Washington, D.C. at the time around the budget, what he couldn't get it done. So when him and Horn went back, they were granted permission to repurpose a little over $50 million out of the remaining $450 million that was scheduled for capital projects in order for him to have money to operate the utility. So again, obviously he's proved to be, he couldn't manage his way out of this office, obviously. Out of this.
And he's also getting money for just to bring, and I still want you to talk on this next part because we're going to talk, when people see a petition come out, I'm getting them ready. And so that just to put this in perspective, everything you just said is separate from the money we now pay towards Jackson Water for our sewer.
Oh, totally.
It's completely separate.
Totally separate. And remember, going back before this 12% increase is added, there was an increase prior to that, in addition to that $40 use charge.
Or water availability or use
In other words, if you don't use if you turn your water off for 1 month, you still got to pay $40.
Yeah. Before it even goes, whereas in Ridgeland, if I'm correct, and I may be off by some cents,
$5.
$5 before anything starts ticking, right? And if you don't use it, that's what you get. Every 100 cubic, it's $3.50.
$6.
Not anymore, not since the 12% increase.
$7 per
So $7.48 per every 100 cubic feet, whereas it's $3.50 in Ridgeland?
No, in Madison.
In Madison. So but the water's not better. But you're doubling up on us, you're tripling up on us. And that's
again. So this is where we are, and it's the same day. It's a bait and switch game, where the citizens of Jackson, we are.
And that's why it's insulting when you said that, brother. They're gonna give us a minute. That's why it was so insulting when Ted Hennepin stood in front of the city hall and said, "People of Jackson, the problem is they just don't want to pay."
Yes,
that's to me. You gotta understand that, Jackson. That's why you can't go through this amount of money in operating costs. We're not knocking you for operating. But you can't say the problem is us not wanting to pay our bill. It's unacceptable.
So in other words, you're saying it's y'all not wanting to give me my money.
Again, we don't want to. Just stop, man. Jackson is carrying the burden. Well, there's a couple. It's not too much that I agree with John Horn on.
Yes,
but I do agree with him on this. He's saying how is Jackson going to carry the burden of all of this debt and everything on the utility, and yet Ridgeland and Byron, whoever else, feel like they got to have a say in how Jackson runs his water authority. He's
right. The only problem, John Horn, is you're the one that told us that this was going to take out $200 million debt and it was going to move it to the side, John. The only problem, John, is you told us that this was the only and the best effort we had. And I agree with you on that. The statement he made, I agree with 100%. But our key here, just brother, is you never going to throw that rock in hide the sand. And John, had you not made this deal, because remember, really quickly, then we're going to land it. John, Socrates, all the people that ran, everyone that ran said, Marcus, you all said, we'll bring the water back to the city of Jackson if we win. Soon as John Horn got in office, 1 month later, he starts putting it out on the stroll, shake your booty. Who wants to go half? And the newspaper title is Mayor touts private-public partnership for water. The white folks over the water said, Negro, you got it twisted. We don't want half. We don't want 3/4. We want it all. So they said, we good, Johnny. We don't want that. So they called him in a close conference. Next thing they know, they said, we're going to do the water authority. You'll have majority of the board. John crewed up, wrote on the sign all of a sudden. Remember, he crewed up, wrote on that sign, started marching around with that public sign, said, give our water away. He was down at City Hall. Gibbs was looking on his phone playing DraftKings or something. I'm being facetious. But the point is, none of them spoke up. They all sat there quietly and said, Gibbs stood up and said, what did he say, KP? He said, I didn't vote for it, but only because I think it could be better.
He said I didn't vote for it because it was too many people that voted against it.
That's right. But now you got folks running around believing they all stood up against it. But after all of these things that you just heard, this brother that wrote plans for the previous administration, that understands this 40 years of doing this, after everything you've done with the money to swivel around and say where the problem is part of the biggest problem, and for the city council to just sit there as if they don't know any of this, is unacceptable. And this is why you think you're going to get away. And I want you to have the final word. But when you got a brother that knows what happened, now you got Grizel sitting there all of a sudden bothered with the mayor. Well, you wasn't bothered with Grizel when y'all was running to the Indian mosque making deals with them. And we got this brother Eddie's barbecue that can't even get a sign up. But they can open hotels everywhere, Grizel and Horn. Y'all are fine when you sitting up at their church When you at their mosque, hardly. You were fine when you were running around with foot at the Cedars and everywhere else telling them only to trust you, hardly.
Yes.
You were great then. Now you Martin Luther King. Let my people go. No, you're the one that led us to them.
Yeah.
You're the one that led us to
You
them.
can't start the fire, then come back with a bucket.
And that's what Mayor John Horn and all.
Man.
And let me tell you something. I promise we'll skip to in. Listen, when you see Stokes on TV talking about Mayor Horn, no, senor. Not while we're here.
No.
You're not going to erase what you've been doing with look what he did.
Yeah.
Look what you all did. All you can do right now, Stokes, Hartley, Rozelle, Horn, the whole lot of you. All you can do is raise your hand and say, I confess. This is what I did wrong. And let us learn off of that and move on. But don't you think for a moment we're going to take 7 people times 20. That's 140,000 per year. Mm-hmm. And you make us believe the mayor didn't tell me what to do, so I didn't do it. I bet the mayor didn't, because he's trying to sell the water up the drain. But why wouldn't you know that too? My son doesn't want to eat vegetables. You think I'm not going to put him on his plate? Come on, city council. Don't piss down our backs and tell us it's raining during the daytime. At least wait till the nighttime.
I'm with it up.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to try to have you come back or at least get on the phone tomorrow. I'm going to say a statement and you just tell me if this is true or not, and then I need you to follow up on this. The legislation created the framework for the authority, but it does not automatically transfer Jackson's water system. The way I see it, that before that authority can take over, the city of Jackson has to agree to lease that water system to it. Am I seeing this wrong or am I seeing it right? Can the city of Jackson say, I refuse to lease this to you?
That is absolutely correct, and I actually.
I'm sorry, man, I'm putting you on the spot late because this is detailed, but I'm sorry.
No. First of all, you did right, because I had to print this out because that was my first question, is wondering about the fact that according to Shonda Yates, the so-called legislator.
The Democratic Independent Republican, yes.
You know, again,
that's my safe word.
She worked for the Republicans and all the rest of them clown.
Yeah.
I consider Democrats, again,
Plantation Democrats.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, Plantation Democrats.
The city has to agree
That's right.
to lease the authority, the water authority, to this quote-unquote so-called water authority board.
And I'm not saying it's going to go smoothly, but they're acting like there's no fight left.
Oh, no, there's plenty of fight left. There's plenty of fight left.
These clowns are trying to sell you right up
No,
there.
no. There's plenty of fight left. You don't just hand this over. I don't care what they form. They can form 1,000 boards.
1,000 boards. It's all water.
There we go.
Exactly.
There's plenty of fight left.
There's plenty of fight
All y'all leaving the Madison.
No.
We can't do nothing.
It has to be signed over by the mayor and the city council.
Come on now. Make it make sense. We may not make it to tomorrow with this type of talk,
So
y'all.
leading into your point about this petition, you have, Jackson, you have tremendous power.
Yes, we
All
do.
we have to do is exercise.
Harness it.
Let's go.
You know where we at now.
Let's go.
When this petition drops, it better be 50,000 strong immediately.
All it is registered voters and everybody who wants to sign.
That's right.
Now, according to these people's
Criteria.
ordinances,
Ordinances.
in order to get a referendum to vote on, we need registered voters.
That's right.
So my point is this: we'll have designate that you're a registered voter when you sign, and if you're not a registered, that's cool too.
That's cool too.
Anyway.
Yeah, sign it anyways, and we'll work on it from there.
Yeah.
So that's good. So listen, we're gonna follow back on this tomorrow. Remember, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, we're here at 90.1. Thursdays and Fridays, we have We Believe Digital, 5:30, and we're gonna need this extra time because this is gonna heat up. So my brother, either in person or on the phone, can we agree to have you back on?
Yeah,
because tomorrow what we're gonna touch on is what we just talked about. They can technically push back against this. Now, let's just recap and we're gonna close out. They told you that the Water Authority was the best option for us and then lost every single bit of ownership over it. They told you this would shift our debt. It wouldn't. They wrote on cardboard signs and walked around and marched and shook through City Hall telling you to do it, and it turned against us. Now we have no authority over us. They had a deadline getting paid $140,000 through the collective 7 of them. They forgot to file the deadline to push back against this extra $20 million Hennepin and Jackson Water are getting. Now they could actually reject the lease, and they're throwing candy at Irish festivals and eating and putting themselves on lines. Stokes, we're talking about shaking their butt at festivals. And the last step for them to put any resistance, they're nowhere to be seen. If you don't heat them up, when that petition comes out tomorrow, if we don't sign it, it might be over soon. You know what it said? It's a wrap. Governor Tate signed it today. He signed the authorization for the Water Authority. It's in our hands. Last step. The Keefer came and told Vernon Hartley, you may want to do a rate case or something. Hartley took the showdown. That's telling you what it is.
Yes.
They don't want you to live. They selling you, they shifting the chairs on the Titanic. You gonna slide off and they gonna stay on. And guess what these fools didn't even do? They sold you off to them white folks and they didn't even get the 10 cents they were promised. Pete Brown Golf Course, they canceled that 100,000.
Sure
Remember
did.
them cameras at Lake Carolina at 100,000 when they were just gonna give Lake Carolina? Cancel that 100,000.
Yeah.
These Negroes didn't even get the 5 cents that they sold you up the river for.
Yeah.
I'm glad I ain't get paid to sell you up the river. Cause you don't understand how this devil works. He gives you a penny and then he takes 10. You probably got a worse credit because of that. We're gonna be right back, same place, same time tomorrow to my esteemed guest,
I will be here, Kill Bakari.
to my co-host.
Keanu Perry.
I'm Tarek Abdul-Jawad. Continue to make it make sense, Jackson. We love you and we out.